Hello everyone, and welcome to another revision session for the AQA GCSE RE exam run by the Piggott School. Today we're going to be focusing on planning and writing 12-mark questions, the evaluation question, and we're going to be looking at a question, an example from the Theme D paper. So the question we're going to be planning and writing is this one. There are no good reasons for countries to possess nuclear weapons. It's a 12-mark question. And in the exam, you will get the following instruction. So you'll be told to evaluate the statement, and you'll be told that in your answer, you need to refer to religious teachings, to give reasoned arguments to support the statement, to give reasoned arguments to support a different point of view, and to reach a justified conclusion. So the wording of the exam is really helpful because it tells you how to plan your answer. You need to plan your agree points, you need to plan your disagree points, you need to plan to include religious teachings, whether that's quotes or a reference to a religious story or a reference to a Bible teaching or a Quran teaching, and you need to reach a justified conclusion. So that's your final judgment. Your conclusion paragraph is really, really important. And it's not just important to have your conclusion at the end, it's important to have sentences within your paragraphs that link the points you're making to your final judgment in your conclusion. Now we'll show you how to do that as we go through this particular example. So first thing we're going to do is to draw out an agree-disagree table. Now remember, the points that we're going to use in this example are sample points, they're exemplar points. They are points we are going to use to write our paragraphs, but they are not kind of an extensive list of points. You can include your own ones, you can include ones from other religions that we don't mention, that's absolutely fine, and you can still get 12 out of 12 if you don't mention the points that we do. Okay, so on our disagree side, we're going to think about the fact that nuclear weapons have destructive power. And what I've done with our points, I've summarized them. So remember, in an exam time conditions, you only have time to summarize your points in your agree-disagree table. Just make some simple bullet point notes that you can refer back to when you come to write them up in detail in your paragraph. So the first point that we're going to refer to is there are no good reasons for nuclear weapons because of their destructive power, because they destroy nature, they destroy innocent people, they destroy wildlife. And as an example of that, we're going to say that nuclear weapons are now 20 times more powerful than World War II. And that's really important because during World War II, particularly during the year 1945, is the only instance that nuclear weapons have ever been used in history. And so the fact that they're now 20 times more powerful tells you the extent of the destruction that they would cause. The second point we're going to make is they are very expensive to maintain and to make, and we could say that the money could be used for peace initiatives, for reconciliation, for teaching, and as a religious teaching we're going to refer to the quote, "Love your neighbor." Very easy quote to remember. I'm sure most of you know the quote by now, and we're going to use it to our advantage. And the third point we're going to make is an explicitly religious point. Remember, this is from paper 2, so the points we make don't have to be explicitly religious, but we do need to include religious teachings in there. We're going to say that only God has the right to end life. We're going to kind of expand on that point, the sanctity of life idea, and we're going to use the simple quote, "Do not murder," to expand on that, and we're going to link that into nuclear weapons. In our disagree side, disagreeing with a statement means that we're going to say, perhaps there are some good reasons for countries to possess nuclear weapons. First point we're going to make is that the threat of nuclear weapons keeps peace between countries or prevents war. 9 countries have them in the world and they've never used them, or they've only used them once. They've never used them on each other. So perhaps we're going to make the point that it saves lives because it avoids conflict. Our second point we're going to make is that they act as a deterrent to volatile nations or military powers or groups. So we're going to expand on that point. And we're going to make another explicitly religious point. We're going to use perhaps the ideas of lesser jihad and just war theory. Not that they condone or encourage the use of nuclear weapons, but we could make the point that just war theory allows war or possession of weapons on the basis of self-defense and on the basis of defending other countries. And that's particularly relevant when it comes to lesser jihad as well. So we could make that point to say that that could be a justifiable reason for possessing nuclear weapons. Remember, these aren't an extensive list of points. You can have your own ones, and that's absolutely fine. So how are we going to write this up? We're going to come to write up the agree paragraph. We're going to have our points at the top here in the orange box, and I'll talk you through how I've written it up. So the green highlighting is where I've specifically referred to the points that we've planned. The yellow highlighting is where I've referred back to the question, either using the words of the question or referring to the ideas of the question. And the purple highlighting is our religious teachings or our religious quotes. Key points to include in the 12-mark question. So here it goes. This is how we would write it up. Nice, easy start to the 12-mark question, which is on the one hand, some people would agree with the statement, excellent starting sentence, because, and here we go, the destructive power of nuclear weapons is immense and long-lasting. Modern day nuclear weapons are 20 times more powerful than the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Therefore, even countries that have nothing to do with the war will be badly affected, as will nature and wildlife. And here's our yellow, linking back to the question. This is not a good reason to possess nuclear weapons. And you might think you could expand on that a bit more, and of course you could. But remember, this is all in exam time conditions, in 15 minutes. So we come to our second point. Another reason, another good starter sentence, is that nuclear weapons are incredibly expensive to make and maintain. The cost to replace the UK's Trident missile programme is over £1 billion. Couldn't the money be used to raise everyone's quality of life, e.g. by improving education, the NHS, or working for peace and reconciliation? This is supported by Jesus' teaching, love your neighbour as yourself. A purple quote there, which implies we should love other countries, not build nuclear weapons against them. Summarising the point, but also linking back to the question. Moreover, many religious believers think only God has the right to end life, and nuclear weapons involve mass murder, particularly of innocent people. The teaching, here we go, purple, do not murder, goes against using nuclear weapons and doesn't provide any good reason to possess them. See the words of the question there in our sentence. Jesus encouraged his followers to forgive not 7 times, but 70 times 7. Any quote there to do with forgiveness, to do with reconciliation, to do with peace, would fit nicely in that sentence, which goes against retaliation and any use of nuclear weapons. Again, linking back to the words of the question. Overall, it's a good summary sentence to include at the end of a list of points. These points suggest there are no good reasons to possess nuclear weapons. You see how that links in with the question. So now we're going to have a look at our disagree points and how we'd write those ones up. Some people might disagree with the statement because the fear of nuclear war has kept major world powers from coming to war in recent history. For instance, of the 9 countries which possess nuclear weapons, none of them have ever used nuclear weapons against each other. This suggests the threat of mutually assured destruction is taken very seriously and is a good reason for countries to possess nuclear weapons. You can see how that final sentence of that section links back nicely to the question. Second point. Another reason is that nuclear weapons are possessed by stable governments, so they can act as a deterrent and prevent other countries from attacking them or going to war. This is a positive reason for possessing nuclear weapons because they prevent further deaths. And you can see in that section, in that sentence, I have used the word positive and possessing nuclear weapons, which links back to the question nicely. Now, a final point. Thirdly, if a country possesses nuclear weapons, they are able to defend an ally. In just war theory and lesser jihad, Christians and Muslims are allowed to use the threat of violence in self-defense or the defense of other countries. So possessing nuclear weapons could be allowed on these grounds. You can see I've linked in the words of the question there nicely to that sentence. This could be applied to Pakistan because they are the only Muslim country to possess nuclear weapons, so they can use them to protect other Muslim countries. So, nice real-life example there linked into our points. Again, of course, you could expand on those points. Of course, you could write more, but we are thinking about what we are able to write in exam time conditions. And that is absolutely fine to write that amount. So let's have a look at what it looks like all together. So as you can see on the screen now, we've got our full answer with our final judgment at the end. Now, our conclusion, our final judgment wraps everything together. It picks out the strongest arguments of our evaluation, and it says why we come down on one side and not on the other side. Remember, it doesn't matter which side you come down on. There's no kind of right or wrong. You need to agree or you need to disagree with the statement. That's not the case in these questions. These questions are asking you to evaluate, to pick out the strongest arguments in your opinion. So as long as you can justify your opinion, you can explain why you've come down on the agree side or the disagree side, that's fine. Looking at your evaluation skills, not so much your opinions themselves. Yeah. And this answer is definitely a 12 out of 12. If you were to write this in an exam, easily a 12 out of 12, no questions, okay? So let's just have a look at our final point, our final sentence, section, sorry. Overall, I think the strongest arguments are the disagree points. So that's a nice starter sentence for a conclusion. So which side do you think are the strongest? So you've picked out your evaluation. That's your judgment. And they're then going to say why. Although nuclear weapons are incredibly dangerous, have the potential to be misused and cause indiscriminate death, I think the fact that we cannot uncreate them means that we have to ensure they are kept safely, and the threat of MAD keeps the world safer. Now, of course, you could expand on that, and you might want to say more, but that's absolutely fine. As a conclusion, in a 12-mark question, exam conditions, that's fine. That is acceptable, and altogether that would get you 12 out of 12, because you've evaluated all the way through, you've linked all your points back to the question, you've included multiple religious views, 3 quotes, you've included links to Christianity and Islam, you've included links to just war theory, lesser jihad, life of Jesus, you've included non-religious views as well, and you've included evaluation and a conclusion, which is perfect. So that would get you 12 out of 12. So I hope that really helped you. I'm going to leave you some time at the end to have a read through the full answer if you want to. But I hope that really helped. And thank you for listening, and good luck with the work that you're currently doing and the revision that you're currently doing.